I said, hey yo, what is going on, guys? It's your boy Mojados, and we back for another video. Today we are going to be looking at Bitcoin, okay? Everything Bitcoin that you need to know, everything to get us back into the groove, if you will. And yeah, we're gonna look at every single aspect that's pretty much changed from last month and kind of take a look at momentum. We're gonna look at what's happening in the market and kind of get an idea of what we can expect next. So yeah, let's jump right in. And so yeah, first things first, we've technically been chopping, so there hasn't really been too much of an update. So for the most part, this video is kind of going to be recapping last month's video, but I think that we're gonna get some interesting moves soon. So I do think that maybe you want to stick around to the end and we can draw some conclusions. But essentially we're just ranging here, okay? This is basically a big range. We even had a range up here which kind of went sideways, but it broke down, right? We had a small range there, broke down, and now again we're watching for another breakdown, allegedly, right? And I personally am under the impression that we're not gonna get a breakdown, right? And so the reason why is because every single breakdown you see here, this type of volume was not found before. So that is the biggest reason why I'm so bullish right now, okay? And sometimes even consolidating, right? That's not a bad thing. In some ways that can be bullish. And I think the giveaway here this time is the fact that we've been going sideways for so long while again keeping this range here. And so I don't want to discount that at all. I think that we should definitely take a look at this and consider it, because I know that we had a range before over here in this area. And so again, it definitely varies, because in this range that we saw here, there was pretty much a collapse that followed it, unfortunately, right? We had the 3-act, Luna, UST, Celsius, Voyager, and everything was just coming down, right? Unfortunately. But nobody knew that this area essentially was the cycle top. And in terms of engagement, after we hit this high, Coinbase IPO, that was pretty much the actual high. This high that we see here was not really a high, in my opinion, right? And I'm gonna get into that because I did again share this last time, and the reason why I'm saying that high was not as significant is because if you look here, look at how many active users leave the market, right? It literally almost cuts in half, right? When Coinbase IPO, that was the most engaged the market was. But look how much it changes when we come back to the new high here. It actually drops significantly. So that leads me to believe that this was actually the cycle high, although we did hit the all-time highs here, which I did share on my Twitter, and I've posted countless videos here talking about how it's subdivided, and we caught the top, we caught the bottom here as well, July. If you go back to my Twitter, you'll find it. And we didn't get to hold the lows here, and that's okay, guys. Catching this low, riding it up to there, catching the high, and then getting stopped out here for maybe 10 or 5%. It's not a big deal when you're catching big moves like that, right? That's what trading is. And for those who think they catch every single move or act like they do, I don't believe them, right? Because for those who are actual traders, they can smell bullshit from a mile away. And so what we're seeing here right now is, yes, those ranges played out. The market proved us wrong. Cool. But what we do is we always readjust. We have to recalculate. Just because we did get invalidated doesn't mean that we're going to be out of the market. It just means that we have to reassess, and that's okay, right? You're not always going to be right, but what's most important is protecting your capital, making sure that you're able to continue trading, because that's what this game is. And if those who are in this market right now, props to you, because we're at an all-time low essentially, and people are pretty much not really engaged right now because, of course, sentiment is not there. And for those people who again are in the market right now, you guys are very, very lucky, because right now the whole market in it of itself is interesting, which I'm gonna take a look here at in a moment. Actually, I'll just share it. But this is total, right? And the reason why this is important for BTC is because BTC kind of moves the whole market, right? And when we look at this, it looks like to me that this was a big range that kind of went sideways, and liquidity was taken from the high, liquidity was taken from the low, and what we're going to see here is the market pushing back up into this range. And if we're able to hold this range here, we'll probably see Bitcoin also follow, right? So that's important. I'm gonna take a quick sip of this San Pellegrino, baby. One. That hit the spot. Got a blood orange and black raspberry flavor. Shout out to my boy. He dropped off a bunch for me. But, you know, we just got, again, sideways price action here. Not too much fun. And overall, I mean, the RSI is low, which is not the most like bullish thing on this total chart. But that's okay, because that's usually sometimes a sign of consolidation, or again, the market resetting itself, right? Because if you look back even over here in the 2018 and 2020 correction, what you're seeing is, yes, the RSI did hit a low, but again, like, it does look bad, but again, we want to buy at those times because that's when the market gives more opportunity. And for those who actually were following me at the time, I sold my car when BTC was down at these lows over here and bought myself some gorgeous Bitcoin. And that's, you damn right, we got pretty much caught the top from the bottom, which was, again, one of the most like sickest plays, from the lows to the highs, catching it all, and that was magnificent. But at the end, you know, we have to just adjust, right? Just because I'm gonna be right today, you know, doesn't mean I'm always gonna be right either, right? And so I like to humble myself and keep myself humble, but at the same time, you know, look at past performances, because those past performances, you know, again, give me an idea of what to expect in this market and how things can play out. And I think it's really interesting when we look at that, because, guys, for those who are actually paying attention to this market, you know, we have 4-year cycles, okay? There's two sides here, right? Some people say there's expanding cycles. Some people saying that there's 4-year cycles. I'm somewhere in the belief that it's right down the middle, right? I'm not on either camp, but I do believe both sides have a good, you know, good points. And so I just kind of watch the market, watch significant levels, and kind of go from there. And right now, what we saw in this market and why it's so different is that, you know, we got a double top. Never in Bitcoin's history, especially in a 4-year cycle, have we seen a 4-year top. What we usually see is, again, a blow off top with a market falling 86%. And then again, blow off top, right, in 2020, or I'm sorry, 2017. And then, of course, a 80% retrace. And so right now, everyone is expecting an 80% retrace from the all-time highs, right? So let's go to all-time highs. 80% retrace takes us back to like 12, or yeah, like about 12K. Let's just say 12K, because I'm assuming that maybe some people don't want to say more than, like, I'm not even pulling exacts, right? I'm just gonna leave it at 80, but let's just say around 12K. I'm not saying it's not impossible, but what I am saying is that because the top of this market is different, the bottom is not going to be the same. These markets are meant to trick you. They're not going to always do the same thing, right? And so, you know, always expect unexpected. And people are not looking at this stuff, right? Who's looking at this chart on this time frame, taking a look at this whole entire, you know, sequence, and even saying, okay, this top was different, and what we can draw from that is maybe the bottom is going to be different as well, right? I don't really see that type of discussion, you know, on Twitter, but I do think it's interesting that we did hit the previous all-time high, which leads me to more of a bearish case here, right? So short term, I'm bullish, right? Over the next 3, 4, 5 months, I'm actually bullish on BTC, okay? But I'm gonna display to you guys why I believe it's possible that BTC might be essentially finished, right? And so before you go ahead and assume anything, let me explain here, okay? So we can even say this is 5, or yeah, this is probably 5, but you know, for those people who know or understand what Elliot wave is, essentially the market moves in 5 waves, and those 5 waves predicate essentially a bigger correction to that degree. So, you know, basically I'm gonna put again a photo here so you guys can, and that photo is too transparent, it's not even popping up. That's actually hilarious. Let me try this one. This is not gonna work either. That's horrible. And yeah, that's not working. So let's try this one. Let's try this one. Let's see if this one works. Cool, perfect. Right. So basically what we saw here is basically a big 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5. Okay, this is the ideal bigger correction looking at it in the macro time frames. Okay, But then inside every single one, you get one cycle inside of it, right, with corrections. And what we're seeing is this basically every single cycle plays out in 4 waves. And those 4 waves have essentially topped out, right? We got 5 waves up here, okay? And so, you know, there is some discretion. This count is not exact. I did believe that we would have gotten a move up here. Maybe this is an X wave and, you know, this is like an incomplete 5th wave. I don't know exactly how it would look. I do think that this 5 has some leeway to be even, you know, extended in some sorts, right? Maybe this can be an X wave for a correction. There's a double ABC correction, which I'm not going to get too much into because I want to keep this video as simple as possible. But again, you know, we're just watching a correction here. And the reason why this is interesting is because, you know, we pretty much hit the previous all-time highs. And what you can see in this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is that 4 never crosses wave 1, right? The only time that price crosses the previous all-time highs when the market is essentially finished, right? And when I say finished, I'm talking about all the 5 waves have been completed, right? And this is actually a better graphic. I'm going to delete this one, and this is what you guys want to look at, right? Because what you're seeing is basically an A, and this of course varies. This is ABC correction. There's multiple types of corrections, and it can play out in many different ways, but I'm just going to make it as simple as possible. This can be an A wave down. We can see a B move up, and then again a C move downwards to make it look like this, okay? And the reason why I'm seeing these little lines here is, again, because you're seeing an ABC, a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 inside of every one, and then an ABC following it down, and then a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 inside with an ABC down, right? So, you know, this is what we're watching for, and this is what I believe is happening. For the main reason is because this essentially crossed into wave 3 territory. The only time that happens is only when the cycle 5 is basically completed, okay? And that's what I'm starting to believe. Unless this is a different type of pattern, which is possible. There could be a diametric, which is a neo wave type of you know, pattern, which I'm definitely not going to get into because neo wave is complicated and it would make the video extremely long. That is another possibility that BTC can move up, but right now to me it looks like we're watching a ABC correction play out. And again, like I shared earlier, maybe my thesis is incorrect, but what it looks like right now is that yes, short term I'm bullish. I think a move up to 33K is very, very reasonable, right? And I would not be shocked to see, again, a move up to this high, you know, breaking up there. That's definitely possible because of the fact that we broke past wave 3 territory, which means that we're going to get probably a move back to the upside and then a bigger move to the downside, right? And so I'm going to be very careful and I'm going to watch pretty closely because this is definitely something that we got to watch out for. That doesn't mean this can't get invalidated, right? If some new data is presented, I will change my bias, guys. And that's really important as a trader because we want to adjust to the market. If tomorrow some, you know, if like an ETF launches or something, you know, related to super mega adoption, right? If every country just starts talking about how bullish Bitcoin is and we see buying volume and breaking past 34K and even going up to 50K, then maybe it's okay to get re-bullish, right? I'm just giving you guys an extreme example here. Of course, sometimes these narratives don't even do anything, right? The price will still do what it's meant to do. And so, you know, it's just important to contextualize that because I don't want to marry a bias. I'm very, very neutral when it comes to trading. I try to present both sides of an argument before, again, confirming or, you know, keeping a bias because, you know, I could be wrong and I'm very okay with being wrong. And for people who do actually trade, it's okay to be wrong, which leads me to Bitcoin dominance, right? And this also is interesting because it's range bound, right? And to me, this is also interesting because it tells us where's Bitcoin. And to me, if Bitcoin does not reclaim its dominance, and I'm like 50-50 split right now with where dominance is because usually in a bear market, Bitcoin reclaims its dominance. And we saw that from the pretty much previous all-time high, right? In 2018, when Bitcoin hit 20,000, right, and the bear market started, what we saw was everybody fleeing back into Bitcoin. And even at one point, Bitcoin had a 73% dominance in the market at literally like this low over here at, in December of 2018, right? And so that is really important. And what we're seeing right now is that's not the case. Pretty much prices fell down significantly, all the way down to a cycle high, or I'm sorry, a cycle low. And guess what? The dominance has not fall like the way it has in the past. So something is happening in this market. And personally, what I think is that a lot of alts are now in this market. A lot of alts are taking away market share from Bitcoin, which is, it doesn't mean that Bitcoin can't go higher, right? It doesn't mean that. What it just means is that the market is becoming more diluted in coins, right? And there's more money spread across the board because there will be more than one coin in this market. However, Bitcoin has its purpose. Other coins will also have their own purposes, but I just think it's important to look at this and say, okay, people are not really going back into Bitcoin like they used to. Behavior is changing, and we're paying attention to that. So this is very, very interesting. And even if you look at, let's see here, the ETH and BTC dominance, this is another thing that's interesting, right? And so what this is, it's basically Ethereum and Bitcoin dominance sum, and what you're seeing is essentially alts again dominating the market, okay? And in the last alt season, we saw again Bitcoin and Ethereum lose dominance to alts, and obviously a big breakdown occurred. And then of course price went sideways here, and what we're seeing is again some type of correction, right? Whether this is a correction, and this looks similar to the BTC dominance chart, except that there's probably a little bit more consolidation, and we're just watching again. And what we're watching for is if this can hold, what we'll see is a breakdown in dominance, right? That doesn't necessarily mean alt seasons gonna occur, all-time highs for every single altcoin. No. What that means is that dominance is going to be lost, right? And dominance can just mean that Bitcoin is falling and Ethereum is falling faster than altcoins, or ETH and BTC are going sideways while altcoins go up. There's a few different scenarios that are at play when the dominance is falling like this, but it's important to contextualize that, right? And so, just touching some points here on why I'm short-term bullish on BTC is number one, volume, okay? Volume's the number one thing here. Outlined this in my last video, and it's just confirming that people are interested in this level, right? Every single time we've fallen, there's been a lot of people stepping up here. And the reason why I have Binance here is because for the simple reason, that's where all the volume is, okay? All the volume is on Binance right now. I mean, you kind of got to be foolish to think that volume is somewhere else. I think if you look over here on CoinMarketCap, right? Oops, spelled that wrong. Right there. And what you'll see is Bitcoin trading the most over here, and that's of course on Binance. So I just wanted to show that to you guys because very, very important, and people are really here to scoop it up. And I know volume exchanges, volume varies on exchanges, because what you see is, some people say, oh, there's too many exchanges, you can't really aggregate all the volume together. But, I think that's BS. I think if you look at the most, like the most traded volume on an exchange, and you can see that people are clearly accumulating, and there's a massive amount of volume, there's a reasonable conclusion to be had there, right? That people are interested in Bitcoin. Another thing that I really like here, I'm going to delete these, is the fact that BTC is again very bullish at these lows, right? So every single time we've hit this low, there's always been some type of recovery, okay? Usually at least with a new all-time high. But I'm not again as bullish until something changes, only because we broke this high here. So that's again, want to re-emphasize that. But I'm gonna take a quick sip again. Ooh, that was delicious. But again, we're just watching again market sit at this 2-week RSI, and from there again we're gonna see what happens, right? I know there's a lot of macro events playing out right now, and we need to have more bullish price structure, because right now of course we're just making higher lows and lower lows and lower highs, which is not really bullish at all. So short term, of course, price action is not very bullish, but overall if you just look at this whole entire chart, it's very, very bullish, right? Clearly this asset goes up exponentially, right? It's not really something where you get that many retracements, right? You're better off buying and holding. because this asset is absolutely bonkers, right? I don't even know a number that is, right? This is crazy. And so, we're going to see what happens. There's a lot of things happening in the macro as well, that can impact Bitcoin. And, I'm not going to really touch too much, but you're seeing, Germany, UK talking about bringing the money printer back, which sometimes is better, or, it's bullish for Bitcoin, right? Because that's what happens when the money printer goes on. Bitcoin people like to believe it's a hedge against money printing and fiat. That's kind of why it was, created for, some people believe. So yeah, I mean, that's that. And so again, I'm short-term bullish. Long-term, I'm watching to change my bias. I am a believer in Bitcoin. I do continue to believe that it will succeed. And I just want to close this off with just sharing the fear and greed index. I know that this is not really a real indicator, right? I'm not really a huge fan of this, but I think it's important that we're pretty much sitting at all-time lows for this. And I think it's the longest we've kind of, been in the fear and greed index for this low, right? So that's another interesting aspect here. And, we're going to watch very closely to see how this all plays out. But I appreciate you guys for making it this far into the video. Please like and sub if you have not already. It really helps the algorithm. And as always, hodl, hodl, hodl. Peace.